Thanks for tuning in. You're watching ARIRANG News Break. I'm Handaeun in Seoul. We start at the nation's top office. President Geunhye held a meeting with her senior secretaries this morning, the first since her party's heavy defeat in last week's general election, which resulted in the loss of a parliamentary majority. The president hinted a shift of approach towards the opposition parties in pushing forward with her reform drives and more. Our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun reports.
In regards to the results of last Wednesday's general election, President Park says she humbly accepts the people's will and that the election functioned as a reminder of what the people want.
앞으로 국민의 민의를 겸허히 받들어서 국정의 최우선 순위를 민생에 두고 사명감으로 대한민국의 경제 발전과 경제혁신 3개년 계획을 마무리하도록 하는데 혼신의 노력을 다하고자 합니다. 20대 국회가 민생과 경제에 매진하는 일하는 국회가 되기를 기대하면서 정부도 새롭게 출범하는 국회와 긴밀하게 협력해 나갈 것입니다.
Citing unfavorable conditions at home and abroad for the Korean economy at the moment, Park stressed that efforts to strengthen Seoul's economic fundamentals must continue, with structural reforms and economic revitalization remaining the key, and added that job creation should be the top priority in any policy making. With North Korea recently thought to be preparing for a fifth nuclear test, she wrapped up by calling for full defense readiness and said there should be no division of politics or ideology when it comes to inter-Korean matters and national security. Song Ji-sun, ARIRANG News.
The floor leaders of Korea's three main political parties also met this morning for the first time since last week's election and agreed to convene the April extraordinary session from Wednesday, April 20th. Speaking to the press this morning, all three floor leaders expressed desire to make the best of the remaining 40-odd days of the 19th Assembly that'll end at the end of May by passing as many as non-contentious bills as possible. The floor leader of the ruling Geunhye Party, which lost its parliamentary majority in the election, said the Conservative Party would once again like to express its heartfelt apology to the public and vow to cooperate with the liberal opposition bloc. The floor leader of the main opposition Minju Party of Korea said the National Assembly needs to focus on passing bills aimed at improving the people's livelihoods. The centrist People's Party said it'll do its best in coordinating talks among the parties to ensure they serve the public. Saturday's 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Ecuador has now claimed 272 deaths and more than 2,000 injured. The Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa says he expects the death toll to rise as rescue teams dig through the rubble. Countries around the world are helping in rescue efforts and providing supplies to aid survivors of the deadliest quake to hit South America in decades. Local authorities say more than 130 aftershocks have been detected since the quake, with damage widespread throughout the country. Now for the latest from Japan, the death toll from a series of earthquakes on Kyushu Island has risen to at least 42, with at least 11 people still missing and over 2,000 injured. The two earthquakes that struck the city of Kumamoto paralyzed the city. Thousands of buildings and houses were damaged in the quakes, with roads and power lines severed in landslides, leaving more than 110,000 people stranded in temporary shelters. More than 60,000 homes are without electricity and 300,000 have no access to water. According to local sources, many government offices, local firms, shops, and about 60% of all primary and secondary schools in the city have been shut down, leaving the city at a virtual standstill. The world's biggest oil exporting states have failed to agree to freeze production. Saudi Arabia wants a cap to try to boost prices, but Iran, which pulled out of the meeting last minute, won't agree. The group's failure to strike a deal in Qatar sent oil prices tumbling again. Kim Min-ji has the details.
No agreement. Officials from 18 oil-exporting nations comprised of both OPEC and non-OPEC members met in Qatar in the hope of inking a deal that would put a ceiling on oil production at January levels. Casting a cloud over the outcome, Iran refused to join the talks at the last minute. Tehran maintains that it would boost production to levels seen post-sanctions. Adding to woes, Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter, was only willing to freeze output if all major producers agreed to do so, including Iran. Qatar's oil minister said the group needed more time before an agreement could be reached. On the news, West Texas Intermediate shed more than 6%, falling below $40 a barrel at one point in trading. Global oil prices have plunged over 70% since mid-2014, driven by near-record production from OPEC and other producers. But many analysts are on the same page that the move to freeze, not cut production will have little impact.
It doesn't mean much because the people involved are talking about freezing their production level at already high rates into a market that is still oversupplied.
Experts say the failure to reach a deal could prevent prices rising anytime soon, with the chance of market balancing out also receding. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
Brazil's Congress has taken a giant step toward removing President Dilma Rousseff from office. After more than 5 hours of voting, Rousseff's Workers' Party conceded defeat. 342 of the 513 members of the Chamber of Deputies voted in favor of impeachment, the two-thirds necessary for the process to continue. The first female president of Brazil has been accused of illegally using money from state-owned banks to conceal budgetary deficit in an effort to win re-election in 2014. If the impeachment trial goes on and is approved by the Senate, Rousseff must step down for 180 days to defend herself against the accusations. In the case of a Senate trial, a two-thirds majority must vote to convict Rousseff for her to be ousted. Otherwise, she would return to office. And that does it for now. Keep it tuned to Arirang for more domestic and international news coming up at 6 p.m. Korea time.